Hi, my name is Trishan Marley. I'm a dentist based in Derby at the Cavendish Dental Practice and the Park Dental Clinic, and want to do a video on what happens when you take a tooth out. So, as you can see on this photo, a tooth has been extracted and you can see the bone has shrunk by about 63%. Research has shown. There's a study by Hua, Lei, Tan in 2012, and they did a systematic review, and they showed on average the width reduction is 63% is reduced at 6 months. So reason why it's reduced is when you've got a tooth here, you've got the blood supply, and the blood supply supplies what's called the bundle bone. And that's what maintains the bone. As soon as a tooth is taken out, the blood supply goes, the bone shrinks. Now, if you wanted to replace this tooth, ideally you need the bone. And so what's happened here is, in order to put an implant here, for example, or even if you're having a bridge, you want the bone built out to this line. And this space here, from this line to this arrow, that's how much bone has been lost. Actually, it'll be even more because you've got gum thickening here. So it's probably, the bone is actually probably around here. And you'd have to have additional bone grafting techniques to put an implant in this site. However, don't worry, there's ways that during the extraction, if you do a procedure called ridge preservation, you can preserve all of this bone. So I'll just go through an example. So we go to the next slide. So here we go. Here's a rotten root that needs extracting. So the root is extracted. We've packed human bone into the socket and put a membrane and then stitched it. So this is the ridge preservation technique. You do this at the time of extraction. And then 6 months later, you can see we've maintained the bone. The bone has not dished in. If you didn't do ridge preservation, what would have happened is the bone would have come like this, and you'd have a defect there, and then it'll come out. But by doing ridge preservation, you've preserved all of this bone. So if you're thinking of having implants, the ideal way of doing it is when you extract the tooth, you do a ridge preservation technique. It's relatively non-invasive. Well, it is a bit invasive because you're still taking the tooth out, you're still packing bone in there. But if you ever wanted an implant in there, you'll have a good width of bone. So this is the way of taking a tooth out and keeping the bone in place. And it's called ridge preservation.